when we rest upon that place, it's not that we lose interest in the physical world. It's just that we have understood it for what it is. That no matter, there's an old saying, you can't polish a turd. Like, there is no amount of physical combination of stuff that precedes enlightenment. Enlightenment is a process of turning and releasing away from the entrapment of the world, connecting through the subtle self, and then transcending. After attaining, I'm not claiming to have attained any sense of lasting enlightenment. I've had glimpses of moving beyond my own individual suffering. What that broad, kind of vast, luminous enlightenment, say that Swamiji has encapsulated, or the grace has descended in his journey for him to have those experiences. Well, what do they do? Well, what happens to an individual after these experiences happen? The luminosity shines through them to the world for the benefit of others, not for the benefit of the Swamijis or the people who are sharing the Dharma or doing teaching. Hi, I'm David Wegman. I'm the founder of Kailash Ashram. We are a traditional meditation and yoga retreat centre in the Aussie outback. I'm a sniper turned meditator and yogin, and on this channel we love to share uplifting, soulful messages to help you reconnect to what's important, your soul. Tonight's sharing is based on our reading of Samarpan of the Himalayas, an autobiography of my guru, Swami Shivkrupanand. This is a real spiritual classic, very accessible. We've got links in the description if you want to follow along with us. Otherwise, just feel free to enjoy the spiritual messages as shared by me based on Swamiji's teachings. Started. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Well, good evening. Thank you for the grace you have extended our way for the last 2 weeks. We've been dealing with a little bit of minor flooding and the ensuing renovations, very impromptu tiling renovations that we had to do in the house. So we are back on deck and things are chugging forward. We've released dates for a September soul retreat. So if anybody who is looking for retreat, that's now available. I believe August is fully booked. We are continuing with Swamiji's Samarpan Yog of the Himalaya. So he has left his first guru. He's his second guru, but the first one that we covered in the book. He's left the village and he's begun his journey walking to the guru, the next guru that he's been informed to go and see. I'm just going to recap a little bit on where we left last time. I'm not sure how much we touched that point, but Swamiji says that we are the ones that define good and bad, and we ascribe our judgments onto any situation. What is the consequence of recognizing that objective good and objective bad don't exist in the world, that those are contained within us? What it does is it changes the location of control from the world to our own self. Now, am I going to say, let's use an absurd example, is Hitler objectively bad? Many people would put that forward, and I think there's a strong case for that. When we fixate ourselves upon the bad that exists or the evil that exists in the world, though, what that evokes and brings out of us is normally judgment. We need a framework for understanding what is good and what is bad, and that has to be rooted in a deeper metaphysical worldview. And if we are to be the arbiters of objective truth in reality, what does that say about the standards which we need to keep in our own life? Popularized or popularly kind of encapsulated in, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, right? So if we're going to make value judgments about anything in the world, according to the spiritual traditions, the place at which we find footing to offer reflection or criticism of the world is not as an objective arbiter of right and wrong, but it is from the integration of what we have managed to overcome in our own life, or what we have been able to embody in our own life. If we are equanimous, at peace, and reconciled with the evil inside of us, or the badness inside of us, instead of leading towards judgment towards others, what it does is creates a sense of capacity to offer guidance. One has overcome the and evil is a strong word, but let's say negative energies that exist inside of us. What could those negative energies be? Well, you go from the root chakra, those are fighting over survival issues, fighting over bits of dirt, fighting over reproductive opportunities, fighting over prestige and control. So those animalistic drives that are inside of our body and can be almost default settings for humans. When we, as an individual, through the process of yogic alchemy, we take those energies, we don't turn our back on them and run away from them. We yoke those energies, we take them, we harness them, and we use them to ascend towards something beyond, to Paramatma, to the universal consciousness. We master our own inner nature. And that occurs not through fixing the world to be a utopia. So when Swamiji says that we are the ones that define good and bad, it is not, it is a push for us to reclaim agency. Now, the agency that we take when we go, okay, if my discernment, my vivek is what separates wheat from the chaff, using the buddhi, the faculty of the intellect, when we use that to pass apart the world and the entrapments and how it pulls us into narratives that might reflect our unconscious impulses, and we use that sort of discernment to separate ourselves from the mental stories that we tell ourselves about life, we ourselves find an individual sense of freedom. That individual sense of freedom is what everything else is built upon. All of our action that stems from the place of being extricated from the suffering of the world is moves us and moves others deeply towards their soul. When the energies that are gripping us are of the lower vibration, are of those negative tendencies, they pull us deeper into the physical reality, the physical quagmire of life. So identification with the body, obviously, if we believe ourselves to be a body, then it's very logical to want the bodily's comfort and the bodily's security to be the highest priority. As we connect to our subtle body, our mind, thought, emotions, speech, as we go into those more subtle layers of our experience, and then to the final deepest layer of experience, which is consciousness itself, known as the soul, when we rest upon that place, it's not that we lose interest in the physical world. It's just that we have understood it for what it is. That no matter, there's an old saying, you can't polish a turd. Like, there is no amount of physical combination of stuff that precedes enlightenment. Enlightenment is a process of turning and releasing away from the entrapment of the world, connecting through the subtle self, and then transcending. After attaining, I'm not claiming to have attained any sense of lasting enlightenment. I've had glimpses of moving beyond my own individual suffering. What that broad, kind of vast, luminous enlightenment, say that Swamiji has encapsulated, or the grace has descended in his journey for him to have those experiences. Well, what do they do? Well, what happens to an individual after these experiences happen? The luminosity shines through them to the world for the benefit of others, not for the benefit of the Swamijis or the people who are sharing the Dharma or doing teaching. The light that comes through is as a beacon, as a way to call those weary souls who are looking for their way back home. Into the next point, the brightness on the hill. So Swamiji is walking towards the brightness on the hill. And sometimes, in the dark, all you need is a glimmer of light to give you something to aim at. You don't need to be concerned whether or not it's a raging sun, or if it's a small fire, or if it's a bonfire. If it's a bit of light and it's in that journey beyond you, and you can see it, you use it as a reference point, and you aim yourself towards it, and you do your best to stay straight. Keep your journey and your path straight. As Swamiji says in the book, it was very difficult, and one could very easily lose their bearings because of how dense the jungle was and how up and down and all over the shop it was. And it doesn't look so far, but looks can be very deceptive in the mountains. You often see something and it appears a lot closer until you begin to walk it. So that brightness on the hill, that aiming mark, how do we navigate our journey? How do we actually walk towards it? Try it as an experiment. Look up at a cloud and walk down a safe area for more than 3 meters. It's incredibly disorienting if you look up whilst you're walking. It's completely impractical. In fact, as a mountaineer, when I was doing a bit of mountaineering, one of the guides, so this is in the big Alps in Europe and stuff, one of the guides, he would just badger me to make sure that I was looking at my feet. And there you are in, the French Alps, Italian Alps, most beautiful mountain scenery next to the Himalaya on Earth. It's just absolutely stunning. The European Alps are just something. And here we are being told to look at our feet. Now, why is that? Well, mountaineers die a lot. And the reason that they die is a lot of the times deceptively simple, easy things. A poorly placed foot, getting caught on your crampons with the spikes on your boots, you catch a hold of the other boot and then you can tumble. And if you start sliding down a slope, if you don't arrest your fall very quickly, you will slide all the way down to your untimely demise. So we remedy that by, as a mountaineer, looking at our feet. Now, what does this teach us about the journey? Well, we need our aspiration, we need our guidance, we need something that we're aiming at. And we'll get to a little bit more of what those things are in a second. But then once we've found our inspiration, we've found our aiming mark, it might be a set of values that we're working towards. It might be a set of habits that we're trying to embody. It might be a way of relating to ourselves that we're seeking to embody. We don't fixate upon it. You focus on the left, right, left, right. For those that read my email earlier in the week, the man walking down the path in front of you is about to veer off to the left of the path. You yell, "Go right." As they're walking a little bit further, they're about to veer off to the right. You yell out at them, "Go left." And what does that do? It keeps them in the center of the path. When we focus our attention on our own feet, not on the destination that we're aiming at, we have a left and a right foot. What do the left and the right feet correlate to? Ida and Pingala Nadi, the sun and moon channels, the masculine and feminine side, the two hemispheres of the brain. What does that give us? It gives us both the capacity on the masculine side to fixate, to grasp, to hold, to manipulate, to be targeted. And then on the feminine side, it gives us the opportunity to broaden, expand, use our intuition, zoom out, encompass the whole. And so movement, literally in the body, is left, right, like soldier marching. Reason, intuition, focusing, broadening. Isn't it interesting that if we need to do anything that requires coordination in life, we need to bring together these two sides? Hatha yoga, the sun and the moon. Climbing a mountain. Is the mountain the destination? Or sorry, is the light the destination? Well, Swamiji's been walking for days. And what happens through his journey, he begins to learn from nature. So his attention is is fixated, or a part of him has his masculine side has reached up towards the destination, but then he has a feminine present side that is encompassing and perceiving things around him. And so, this is telling us in a subtle way that we too ought have those two dominant threads carrying with us everywhere. The planned self, then the intuitive self. Like both, we've been graced with both of those capacities for a reason, not by chance. What does the overbearing aspect of the inner masculine want to do? It wants to plan and organize everything, and I'm going to fix, I'm going to iron all the crinkles flat. I'm going to make sure everything is ridgy-dig, as an Australian would say, or it's straight. The intuitive self, though, what does that, if we lead that towards success, where does that go? It goes, I don't need plans, whatever, Jai Baba Swami, Swamiji's grace. The event didn't work. Swamiji mustn't have wanted it to work. The event, you get too loosey-goosey, you get too wishy-washy with the feminine side, and you abandon your orientation, you end up getting lost. So we need these two components of ourselves. So there's Swamiji, he's headed towards the next guru, but he's so open on his journey, he gets hungry, and what does he come across? Some banana trees. And how does he address the banana tree? He addresses it as the tree king, which I think it's a translation that probably has gone awry a little bit. There's like Raj in Rajni, the Raj it gives that royal evocation, but it's in English it sounds a little bit funny, the tree king. But why does Swamiji bow down with gratitude to a banana tree in front of him? Well, when he bows down, he humbles himself, and he puts himself into a place of gratitude. He was enacting something that one of his gurus had taught him around, always asking the tree for the blessing of its fruit, and approaching with that devotion. When you then eat that food, so you've offered gratitude, you have offered blessing, you've offered love, and then you consume the food into you. What are you consuming? You are consuming your gratitude, you are consuming your devotion, you are consuming your love. And so literally the blessings come from a subtle layer, which is our mind, speech, emotion. We mentally say that, or we say it externally with a mantra. It puts a vibration into the physical thing because you have said a mantra. So there's airwaves. It has vibrated positive energy into the fruit. It has filled your brain full of positivity because you are controlling your inner nature. You are directing your brain to be how you want it to be, or how your guru has taught you to be. And then you are imbibing that and filling yourself full of your own blessings. How good is that? Like, it's fantastic, like it you then get to be full of the positivity. And I think the teaching in that is, even if you are consuming something from the world, you can still be blessing and offering and fixated upon sharing the love, even if something's got to come in. Swamiji said it's our man's basic nature to give. We are creatures that share. We share words, we share hearts, we share spaces, we share food. We are communal creatures. And so when we make a conscious choice as a soul to share positivity in the world around us, we are the first one that benefits. And also, no one is worse off for that. Swamiji then, begins reflecting on the very the lengthy, but the quite looking for the right word. It's an evocative story of the seed, getting smothered by all of these nasty bully stones that apparently are imbued with the capacity to talk, and he's obviously sharing a narrative around he's anthropomorphizing. He's making the animals, or making the elements of nature, the seed and the stones, be representative of the human condition. Obviously rocks don't talk, especially they don't talk nastily to seeds, but when we indulge this journey, what begins to happen? We begin to elicit some teachings. So the seed, overcome by obstacles, represents us, with a dormant potential. The seed has the acorn has the entire oak tree inside of it. It's just not manifest yet. So what are we? We are a soul who has taken a body, and have we manifested our divinity fully, as Vivekananda has pushed us to do? Are we manifesting it truly? Maybe I'm a 3 out of 10 manifesting my divinity. I don't know what a 10 out of 10 manifestation of divinity would look like for me. I know what it looks like for Swamiji. He's manifesting his divine light. Jesus was manifesting his divine light. Buddha manifesting the divine light. All of us have a latent potentiality in us, and the seed is going to, where do we plant seeds? We put them in the earth to begin with. Rocks, things will gather on top of it. Those are the obstacles of life. Earth element, it's also has the nutrition and the soil that will give support to us on our journey. So that which encompasses us is also the womb out of which we will grow. So, the earth and these rocks are not inherently bad. Remember, it's our choice to see them for what they are. What is it in the nature of the seed to do? What must it do in order that it gets beyond itself as a seed? It needs to destroy its identity. And this is why we worship Shiva here, because destruction means getting rid of the idea that I am a seed. If the seed clings, if a seed can think, but if we look in its nature, a seed cannot become a tree insofar as it stays as a seed. It's like it's a logical inconsistency, and plenty of seeds, if not given the correct stress and environment for germination, will remain dormant in the ground forever. There are acacia seeds and eucalyptus seeds that will only open in a bushfire out here. There are some that if you buy, you need to germinate them, you need to scratch them on sandpaper so that the seed itself gets a stimulus that it's time to do something. What does the seed do? The basic nature of the seed, of the sprout, once the seed has killed its identity, it has destroyed its ego, its self-limiting ego, the sprout, the little piece of growth, it orients itself to grow towards the light. Why? Well, without the light, without the sun, we don't have an earth. Without the sun, we don't have energy to photosynthesize. The plant can't make the sugars that it needs to use to live unless it gets light. So the basic nature of the sprout is to move upwards to the light. And it's a simple thing, a simple journey of moving towards the light that enables it to grow. But what, in Swamiji's example, did the seed need in order to first kind of destroy its ego? It needed to see the big grand tree, and not dissimilar from itself, still rooted from the place where it germinated, still, fundamentally a sprout moving towards the light. What do we what's that a teaching about? It's a teaching about of the guru-disciple relationship. We as a disciple need a big tree in order to feel like the journey is not just a conjuring of our own mind or aspirational. When you know that a human being who has 2 hands and 2 feet, who eats, drinks, does all the ablutions and all the stuff as well, when someone has quit their egoic identity and grown towards the light as a soul, as a Swamiji, as a Buddha, as a Jesus, when we see one of those grand trees in our life and they turn around and say, well, I was just a seed like you, all I did was kill my identity, like grow up towards the light, son or daughter, whatever, child, there you go, non-gendered, child, grow towards the light, child. What that does is it gives us a very harsh reflection. We cannot unsee that reflection of divinity, that we to ourselves have a divine potentiality. And it can be a very uncomfortable reflection, because it means the retreat back into our humanness, which we will all do at some stage. The sprout goes out a little bit up towards the light, and then it gets, attacked by bugs and all the rest of it. You're like, actually, this isn't a good idea. Can I go back to being a seed? As an ego, we go and whatever, we live our life in a more egoic fashion. We get our soul reflected to us. We start meditating, we take ourselves higher, and then the body wants some pleasure and fun and tasty, yummy, or whatever, whatever your vice or poison is. And then we get pulled back into it. And, it pays to reflect on the idea that the retreat back into our egoic self, once we have begun the process of waking up, is as futile as a sprout trying to go back into the seed. It is not going to happen. So, I say that to myself because don't worry, I want to retreat back into my humanity all the time. It's hard being a soul, which is why we need other people who are also committed to that journey around us. What do we stand to gain from that journey to the light? We align ourselves with the basic nature of reality. The journey of ascent is simple. It is not complex. Yes, there are complex, convoluted means and methods that some gurus give some disciples to make the disciples tire themselves out, getting, trying to learn and master all of these energetic and mental practices. Those are required for some people. For other people, it is the deceptively simple things done with regularity, reminding ourselves of basic universal truths time and time again, that is going to move the needle more than believing ourselves to require sophisticated, complex solutions. What was the one of the kind of quips in the army, about certain people that were managing us would be that they are masters of inventing complex solutions to non-existent problems. So, think about it. They would come up with these grandiose solutions of all the troops doing this, and we're going to do it like that, and then this is going to happen here. And there was no actual problem. You just walk up to the front door and knock on the place if you wanted to. But, you know, in the planner, the manager's mind, they had to have all of the bells and whistles because they'd seen a Hollywood movie or they'd heard another commander talking about that. So we've got to be careful about ourselves of not creating complex solutions to non-existent problems. You know, where is that place inside of us where there is no problems? Of course, it's the soul. It is the place that is transmental. It is a place where, by definition, if you are seeing a problem, if you are caught, as we started with in the start of this sharing, if you are caught by judging good or bad in the world, guess what? You ain't at the soul level. there ain't no thoughts at the soul level. It is a place of extrication from judgment. It is a place of letting go of of wanting the world to be a different way. It is simply a process of resting in oneself as they are. And the more we do that, the more, well, I mean, I'll leave it to you to discover what happens in your life, the more that you spend some time sitting there in that happy place of doing nothing. And so I'll say, Jayat Meshwar, thank you very much for joining us this week. Indu, Amanda, Jane, Janine, Kate, Linda, Raya, and Jaya. There's some rhyme. I could do a rap in there. Yeah. Thank you all. I'll say Jayat Meshwar. Lovely to see you all. I'll point you towards the... thanks, Indu. We'll see you next week, and may you be blessed. Thank you to Swamiji for the beautiful sharings. I mean, he even says it in the book that, oh my God, I made the seed my guru. Go and find something this week that is like, you know, unsuspecting, but, you know, just let your soul guide you. Find something in nature and then just go make it your guru. See, let it teach you. Give it a week. Give yourself space. Bring it into your meditation. Sit with it and see what it has to teach you. You know, and then if you game, share it with us. Okay, so much love, Jayat Meshwar. I'll get the bell and things. If this sharing has been useful for you, please consider hitting that like button and a subscribe if you want to hear more from us. Also, I would love for you to join me on a retreat at any stage. There's links in our description to get you started with meditation, as well as joining me on a retreat in the Grampians. Jayat Meshwar means victory to your soul as the divine. See ya.